everybody. My name's Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Cool. I'm here. My first ever appearance, at least at the City Church. I'm more used to speaking extemporaneously, frankly. I do have some notes, but it would take about 3 hours to go through them, so my coffee won't last. So I have a much smaller cup than Tim usually has. Plus, I think everybody wants to get out in the nice weather, so I'll just do a couple words, sort of loosely based on the theme of that song that some people really, I could see, were really into, and other people were like, "What the heck?" But it's a good song. First thing I wanted to say, there was a picture. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to put it up. But everybody who is a regular here knows that our pastor, Tim, loves to talk about two things that come up in almost every sermon, somehow or other. Hockey and Tim Hortons, which is a donut chain. And so my kids and I, we just got back from 2 weeks in the States, and Air Canada was kind enough to actually give us a 24-hour layover in Toronto. Didn't pay for it, but we had it anyway. And so we thought, what an occasion, we got to check out this Tim Hortons. We've been hearing about this for years, how wonderful it is. So I have this picture, unfortunately we didn't have time to put it up, of my kids actually standing in front of the Hockey Hall of Fame with a Tim Hortons in it. It's like 2 in 1. Unfortunately, probably because the build-up, in our minds was so, this is the power of expectations, it was a little bit of a letdown. Very nice donuts, but we did get the chance, and Tim, I'd ask you to come up for a second. We did get the chance to go, when we were in the States, we did get the chance to go to an actual donut place, and as a present, I want to give you...
Good. They're not that good.
Krispy Kreme donuts are the best in the world, but they don't have hockey, so I'll give you that. They do have baseball, that's right. Cool, so, yeah, Chris. Let's see, so in the song, Taylor Swift, that's who that was, by the way, in case anybody didn't know. I did not know who she was until about a month ago. Embarrassingly enough, my tastes are more, let's say, medieval chant and But anyway, it's nice. I got to watch her video. Oh, that's who Taylor Swift is. Okay, I've heard about her. She sings about shaking off other people's criticisms, prejudices, judgments. Especially when they affect you negatively, right? I mean, it's a very good theme. It's a great song. If you like people shaking. And in the eyes of the world, it's certainly good advice. I mean, there's no question, right? If I get upset about something that somebody does or says about me, I should just shake it off and keep going. That's what she says. But in thinking about it and thinking about this what I was going to say this morning, I think there's a deeper meaning behind why people get upset, why we're so sensitive, why it's so easy for people to hurt our feelings. Which makes us need to shake it off in the first place. Obviously, if you weren't concerned so much about what people were going to say about you, you wouldn't need to, have all this stuff going on. And if we could identify what is that deeper thing, that maybe we wouldn't be getting upset all the time in the first place. And I'd like to put up an idea. And it's sort of Tim encouraged me to say, what's one idea. You might say lots of stuff, but if there's one idea that I'd like to go away with is I think that deeper thing is about the fact that I'm not getting my way. That's what's really bothers me. That's why I need to shake stuff off all the time, because in some way I'm not getting my way. Either I'm afraid I'm going to lose something that I have today, so I'm going to that's not my way, or I'm afraid I'm going to not get something that I want. I want that, and I'm not going to get it, so I'm going to be upset. Or I might be upset or resentful because I've lost something that I used to have. Circumstances, somebody has crossed me and cause me to not get my way. So Taylor, she sings mostly about emotional hurts, and she must get a lot of those, probably because she's a celebrity. She sings about being disrespected, turned down, made fun of, left out. In other words, somebody who's treated her differently or worse than what her way for being treated would prefer. So I think the thing that I want you to take away from is there's a way to take away that hurt, to not have it happen to us quite so often. And moreover, it's so blindingly obvious that most of us, and certainly me, go right past it most of the time without even slowing down. So you ready? You want to know what it is? Okay, here it is. Don't have a way. How about that? Just let it go. So to her thing, shake it off, I'd put a different word on it, which is let it go. Let your way go. Don't have a way. In Christian terms, at least in Christianity I understand, is we say to surrender or sacrifice it, right? Instead of my ego, my way, I'm trying to replace my way with God's way. And I would submit that in some sense, there's a sense that the whole message of the Bible for us can come down to just two words: let go. Let go of my way. In the Old Testament, that God tends to tell us, and in the New Testament, Jesus tends to show us how to let go. And there are many, many examples. And letting go, or as Taylor says, shaking it off, this is the way to grow spiritually. How do we grow spiritually? When I grow spiritually, I become the man, or in some cases the woman, who God made me to be. And I'm growing towards my true happiness. So I would say that letting go is the way that we're going to grow spiritually and become that person, that man or woman who God wants us to be. So I'm going to go through just a couple examples from the Bible. I don't have much coffee left, so it's going to be fast. And I'm going to interweave them with a couple stories from my life and things that I've observed. I hope they'll be offended by that. Example number 1. Do we have scripture? Do we have some slides? Yes, I guess we do. We're okay with slides, right? Yeah, here we go. Okay, example number 1, letting go of others' opinions about us. Can you take that off for a second? Sorry. So letting go of others' opinions. This is actually what Taylor's song was about, right? So it's very apropos. Caring about others' opinions about us. This is something I need to let go of. Did you know that Taylor's actually quoting a Bible verse in her little song there? I bet you didn't think of that. Taylor Swift quoting a Bible verse, but you've already seen it, in fact. But not exactly, but pretty close. In Matthew 10:14, when Jesus is sending his disciples out on their maiden voyage, so to speak, their first sales call to the surrounding villages to spread the word, he tells them what to do if they're not welcomed. Anybody guess what he told them to do? Shake it off. Get rid of the dust. Take it out. Okay, thank you. I've had to do this all my life. Let go of other people's opinions of me. Just shake it off. But it's a hard lesson. All my life I've struggled with being a people pleaser. I want people to like me, unfortunately. And not just some of the people, but all of the people. Everybody's supposed to like me. Unfortunately, they don't. Hey, good morning. And if I'm up in front of an audience, like now, I might not really be even paying attention to the 95 who seem to be smiling and coming along with me. Instead, I'll be obsessing about the very few of you, I'm sure, who are bored or upset or thinking about something else. Why do I do that? Maybe even get up and have a coffee. Why do I do that? I don't know. Probably because deep down, if I think about it, there's some part in me that thinks my value comes from how you all perceive me, if you like me or if you don't. But guess what? The Bible tells me, and what I've learned through bitter experience is that thought that I'm no good unless other people affirm me, that's a lie. It's a lie. I don't know where this lie comes from. Some people would say from hell, but it's definitely a lie. And there are so many examples in the Bible which tell me and show me that my value is inherent in who I am. I'm God's kid, and I don't have to do anything. I don't have to please a single person in this room in order to be of value. But that was a great lesson for me. to learn. Just one small quote from, if you could go to the next one, illustrating that one, from Hebrews. Let us approach God's throne of grace with confidence, because we're going to get mercy and we're going to get the grace that we need in our time of need. I don't need any of you. I'm sure it's nice, of course, for people to like me, but I don't need you to like me in order to have value. And I used to think that I did. And that's been something that God has really given me over the past couple of years, which I'm eternally grateful for. Example number 2. Okay, the next thing, and this is my second and last example, frankly. The next thing I got to shake off is my wish to control everything. And this is a tough one, especially maybe for men, or at least for this man, because the world, told me, or I got the idea that I got to be in charge. I got to be on top. I got to be a success. And the way you do that, obviously, the shortcut to that is to be in control. And I spent decades of my life chasing this idea. I really did. 3 graduate degree programs in top schools, way too much education, a big corporate career, big house, big family. But unfortunately, all that control, led me also to the brink of clinical depression, chemical dependency, brink of suicide. I mean, really some nasty stuff. Don't do it. Please, if I can do you. It's not worth it. Where does this idea come from that I need to be in control of everything? Again, I do not know. I do not know where I got this idea from. But somehow I, and much of society, from what I can see, gets the idea that my value comes from being in control. And it's only when I'm in control that I'm something, and if I'm some sort of victim, that I'm nothing. But, again, I'll say it, it's a lie. It is really a lie. The Bible tells us, my reading of the Bible tells us, what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to relax. I'm supposed to trust that God's in charge. Yes, I have something to do. It's not like I can just, sit around. But my job is to do the best that I can do, given my talents, given my skills, given the amount of energy I have, given everything in my circumstances, which God has put me in, by the way. I don't have to consider myself in charge of the universe anymore. I used to think though. And it used to keep me so busy all the time. Busy. I'm still very busy, but hopefully I'm a little bit better at being busy at the stuff that I'm actually responsible for and not the stuff that I don't control. God shows us in a different way. Be still. Could you pick the next one up? Be still before the Lord, all mankind, because He has roused Himself from His holy dwelling. Now, this is really the truth. God is in charge. He's not sitting around in a house somewhere relaxing. He's in charge. He's actively in charge of this universe. He's in charge of my life. He's in charge of all your lives. So my attitude is I can be still. I don't need to be running the whole world like I used to think I did. So I'm supposed to be still a lot of the time. Over the last couple of years, I've discovered a form of Christian meditation, which has really helped with this, I must say. 20 minutes twice a day, I can really recommend it. Anyway, I'm supposed to be still. I don't need to fix stuff all the time. I don't need to be busy all the time. And where do I get this assurance? Because I used to have this, I don't know if you all have this voice. Oh, you got to do something, I don't need to have that voice. It's not as loud as it used to be. Why? Why is it quieter? Because now I know that God's in charge. Jesus showed us how this is supposed to work. There's this story from book of Mark where he's out in a boat on the lake with his disciples. You probably remember the story, and you could put the next slide up. And there's this furious squall, right? There's this storm, and Jesus is just sleeping on a pillow. And his disciples come up, what's wrong with you? We're going to drown here. And he gets up. He says, "Be still," and all that to the waves, and of course they do. And he says, "But why are you so afraid? Even if he hadn't gotten up and stilled the waters, they would have been fine." But they didn't believe that. They didn't have faith. And that's the question to me. Why do I not have faith? Because very often I still will fall in the old trap. I got to be busy. But that's a good question for me. Is where's my faith that God is in charge? And God really is in charge. So that's just in terms of closing, the one thing that I hope you take away from my little message today is that the way to spiritual growth, ironically enough, is in Taylor's message. Shake it off. In other words, let it go. Let go of these old ideas, and there's lots of them. You know, my feelings about my family, my status, my career status, my youth, which is rapidly disappearing. You know, many things which I need to let go of, which you know I've held on all my life, and it's time to let go of those things and just accept my identity, my real value, which is as God's kid. I am God's precious child, and He loves me infinitely, more than I could even ever imagine. And when I do that, a wonderful thing happens. I become a channel, not for my will, but for God's will. And I submit that would happen to all of you too. And I'm sure all of you have had some experience where you just turn into this wonderful instrument. You don't even know how it's happening. But somehow you turn into this wonderful instrument or channel for God's work on earth. And you're going to grow. You're going to grow like a weed, a spiritual weed, you know, really fast and really strong. And there are two easy measurements. I picked this up somewhere. Two really easy measurements for our state of spiritual growth. How are we doing with our spiritual growth? One is about humility, and the other one is about appropriate responsibility, acceptance of appropriate responsibility. Humility is about being right-sized. I'm not too big and I'm not too small. I'm just the right size. I'm not making more of myself than what I actually am, but I'm also not less than what I actually am. And I'm God's kid. I'm not God, definitely not in charge of the universe, but I'm also not, you know, some doormat or something. I'm God's precious kid, and if I have humility, then I'm aware of that. I'm the right size. And the other one is this appropriate responsibility is what, last slide, is what it says. Some people may know this short prayer. It's attributed to a theologian named Reinhold Niebuhr called the Serenity Prayer. And it goes, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, excuse me, and the wisdom to know the difference. And the things I have responsibility that are appropriate for me to take responsibility for are my actions, my words, my attitudes. Those are things that I am totally responsible for. And I know that I'm being appropriately responsible and accepting it when I'm focused on those things. It's inappropriate, it's wrong responsibility when I'm focused on other things, like what you all are thinking or what Trump is doing or whatever. You know, it's totally inappropriate for me when I'm trying to take responsibility for those things. So if you notice, as you go along shaking it off, that you find yourself you won't even have to try. It'll happen naturally. This humility and this appropriate responsibility. Keep going. You're on the right track. Thanks.